Hello everyone, welcome to this video tutorial. And today what we're going to cover is a way that you can digitize or automate your SCBA Fill Station Log. So most departments do track this information. Anytime you fill an SCBA bottle, you'll have a logbook where you put different information in. And we always collected this information, as I said, on paper, and we decided we wanted to be able to automate that. And so we created this Google form. So I'll walk you through how we did that. And then also the bottle number here, when you see at the top, it says bottle number, you don't necessarily want to have to always enter that information. You can have some errors if you're entering it manually. So what we did is created QR codes for each of our SCBA bottles. And then we, of course, attach those to the bottles, and you can just scan the bottle that you're filling with your phone, and that will take you directly to this form, and it will have the field of the bottle number pre-filled. So you don't have to worry about entering that number. It's going to automatically be there based on what you scanned. And then you go ahead and fill out the remaining fields and submit. And the nice thing about this, for whoever's in charge of your SCBAs, they get a time-stamped and dated entry right here on the spreadsheet. So each time we fill a bottle, it'll just populate one of these rows, and it'll have all the information you want. Now, this is just a basic demo here. You can see the information that I'm collecting, but you could collect anything you want. So the form can actually be customized to your department, whatever information you need to collect. So we'll go ahead and jump in and get started. You need to have a Google account, so you can create a free account if you need to. Okay, so the first thing we want to do when you're in your Google account or your Gmail account, you want to look for this square here in the top right-hand corner that has the 9 boxes. And when you click on that, you should be able to see all the different Google tools here. And you want to click on Drive right here. Now, Google Drive is a free area, a free cloud storage area that you get from Google with 15 gigabytes of storage available for free. And this is where we're going to store all those documents that we create for the tutorial. So we're going to start by going ahead and creating our form. And so this is going to be a live web form that people can go to and enter data. So we click on the New button at the top, and then we're going to scroll down. Now you won't see forms in this list. You need to choose More, and then you can see Google Forms is right here at the top. Now we're just going to go through and create a basic form today, but you can certainly come in and to the color settings here, and you can choose themes by clicking the little palette. You can upload any kind of photos. You can really dress the form up. But for today, we're just going to talk about the nuts and bolts of it, and you can always change the theme at any point. So the first thing we want to do is give the form a name. So we're just going to call this one SCBA Fill Station Log. And then we want to click up here where it says Untitled Form in the top left. Just click on that once, and it'll populate your title in there. Now for the description, we could put some information here, instructions basically, that tell the members what to do, but I found that that's not really needed in this instance. You can go ahead and leave it blank. And for our questions, we're going to start with question number 1, and that's going to be our bottle ID. So we go ahead and just choose on, click on Untitled Question, and we'll type in bottle ID number, or just bottle ID like that. We're going to leave this as a short answer option. And you can see when you click there, you get all kinds of different question options. So if you haven't used Google Forms, you can kind of play around with this and test these questions out. We're going to remove the validation here. So just choose Remove. So all we want is the bottle ID and then the short answer text field here. Now, a couple things we are going to do. We're going to choose Required because we want this field to be required. And now instead of having to start over, we can certainly start over by clicking Add New Question, and that'll put our second question, third question, and we can choose what type of question we want to do. But I like to go ahead and use Duplicate because it got rid of a lot of those things that I didn't need. So I'm just going to duplicate this question, and now I can just change the name here. So for this one, I'm going to maybe say employee name. And for this one, I like to do a drop down box. It tends to work pretty well. So we'll go ahead and choose drop down. we're going to just start typing in the name. So we can start here. And I like to put, if you do have an employee number, that tends to work pretty well if you do them in order of employee number, if you have one that goes in order. So I'll show you that example. So maybe we have one that's like 110, and then we can put a dash and we can put the person's name. The other option is you can put them in alphabetical order as well. But the nice thing about this is when new employees come on, it's easy to keep everything by employee number. And so we'll just go to the next one, 111. And I'm just going to enter a couple here. We'll do one more. Okay, so once we have those names entered in, then we can go ahead and move on to our next question. So we'll just duplicate again. And the next one might be fill station used. So in this case, if you have multiple stations that have fill stations in them, you could do that. So that would be like station 1, station 2. Now you also have the option of maybe you have mutual aid stations that you fill at. So you could put those department names in, or maybe you could put one here that says filled on the scene if you have a cascade system. So again, there's different ways. You can just enter whatever matches your department. I am going to go ahead and put filled on scene here, and we'll just leave it at that. And so that's okay for the third question. We'll go ahead and go to the next one. This next question is going to be reason for filling. And then here we can go ahead and add different choices. So we could put used on fire, used at training. This could be leaked off. And then you could, if you wanted to, have just an other, and they could choose that. Or we could just leave those blank. In my case here, I'm going to go ahead and leave that blank. And the next field we're going to put is what pressure the bottle was filled to. And here we can do a drop down as well. And maybe we can just put the most common first, which is in our case going to be 5,500 PSI. And then here you could just go down however you want to do it. You could go down by 100. So as you work your way down here, you could go ahead and make these intervals a little bit wider. So maybe we want to know here in the beginning what we filled to. And then we'll maybe do one more here at the 5,000 mark. And if you wanted to, you could certainly keep going by 100 all the way down, or maybe here, you drop down to 4,500 PSI and then 4,000 and so on. And you could just do that all the way down. Again, it's personal preference on how many of these options you want to have within the system. So for this, we're just going to leave these questions as our main 5 questions. Now, as we talked about before, we have that spreadsheet that gives us the responses. So we want to go ahead and click on responses here. And you can see we don't have any responses yet, but if you click on this little create spreadsheet button, that will go ahead and create your spreadsheet for you that correlates to this form. So I usually just leave it in here because it takes the same title and then it just puts responses after it. So I'll click create. And now that spreadsheet's been created. And so here's our spreadsheet with the information that's going to be populated in. Now what we want to do here, we're going to do a little bit of spreadsheet work prior to actually entering data into the spreadsheet. So we want to create a new tab here. So we're going to come down to the bottom and click add sheet. And that's going to add sheet number 2. And we can leave it as sheet number 2. If we want to change the name, we can do that as well, just here with rename. You know what? I'll go ahead and rename it since I went that far. And we'll call this raw data. So this is going to be our data that we use to start the system. And this is what we're going to work with moving forward. Now, a couple more things with regard to our spreadsheet here. Okay, so these are our spreadsheet information. And if we wanted to see what this actually looked like live, we can just click on the little preview button here. And then this is what our spreadsheet would look like. And I'll go ahead and enter the data here. So if I had to enter this manually, let's just say I call this ABC 1000. And I can choose one of the names that we entered in. I can choose the station. We used it on a fire, and I filled it full, 5,500. And we can go ahead and hit submit. And now that field has been submitted, or that entry. And you can see when we come back to the spreadsheet, it's already in, ready to go. One thing I do like to do here, this is a little pet peeve. I like to grab this whole column and then choose the left align. And that kind of moves that over and keeps it nice and spread out. But as we enter all that data, each time a member enters a new fill, it's going to go ahead and just populate the spreadsheet. You'll have that data, and you can use that in any way you would use any spreadsheet moving forward. Okay, so now we pretty much have our form finished, and we said we wanted to be able to enter this bottle ID so that it can be scanned with a QR code. So the next steps in our tutorial here, we're going to create the links that allow this to be filled in with the correct bottle number. And then we're going to go ahead and create the QR codes that link to those. All right, let's jump back into that. So we're going to go to our spreadsheet here with our responses, and we're going to choose our raw data tab. And so now we have our information here. So in this case, we're going to enter this information that we want for all the bottles. So in this case, it's going to be bottle ID. So I usually just put a heading like that. And this is where we would paste all of our bottle IDs. So maybe you have a bottle and you have a serial number and you have a location of where you keep it at your station. You can enter all that data here, and you'll just kind of have that as a record. So you would do bottle ID there, and then you could do serial number here, and then you could do, whatever other information you have. In my case, I'm going to take this off, and we're just going to enter the bottle IDs here. So the first bottle ID is going to be ABC 1000. And maybe all of ours are in order. So maybe the next one is ABC 1001. And you can go ahead and paste these in so you don't have to do each one. Now, in my case, I'm just going to grab here and drop these down. So I have about 15 entries. And that's going to give me, it's going to go ahead and expand those out for me. To create my bottle IDs. But again, it doesn't matter what you paste into here. It's just fine. Okay, so from here, what we want to do is we want to enter the pre-filled bottle numbers in our form. And so what we want to do is go back to our actual form, and this is the editing screen. So make sure you're not at the live form. You're at the one that has all these editing options. And what we want to do is click on the three dots up here in the right corner that says More. And we want to choose the item that says Get Pre-Filled Link. So we're going to choose that. It brings us to another page, and it tells you to pre-fill the fields that you want completed, and then you can choose Get Link here to get that link. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and type in bottle ID, and we'll choose Get Link. And it tells us to copy the link. Okay, so that's all we're going to do. The rest of these fields are all going to be filled in manually by our members as they do the form. So we're going to come back in here, and I'm just going to paste this link right here that I just got. And so you'll see if I hit Command or Control actually, and go to that link, it enters in that information, bottle ID. Now, we didn't do ABC 1000 because then we would have had to do every single bottle. So we don't want to do it that way. There's a faster way to go ahead and do this for all of the bottles. So what we're going to do is just close this. And we're back here in the beginning. And this is the actual link that we got from Google. And you can see here, it's a big, long link to everything. And then I have up to where it says equals bottle ID. And so what happens, this link is exactly the same all the way up to that point where it says bottle ID. And then the bottle ID information is going to be different for each bottle that we're talking about. So there's a really easy way that we can use this link to create new links for all of this information here. So what we want to do, the first thing is to grab everything in this link up to the equal sign. We want to include the equal sign. And we're going to choose copy. And now what we're going to do is come back here under the first ABC 1000, and we're going to choose paste. And so that pasted that link in up to that point. So I'm going to call this one, just to keep it easy, I'm going to say first part of link, just so we know that that's what that is there. Now the second part is going to be URL. Now this is going to be the full URL that we have for each one of these items. So what we want to do now is double click in this field under the URL. And what we can do, Google Forms has a formula that's called concatenate. And so the way that works is we type equal, and you can start typing concatenate, C-O-N-C, and you can see it here. So we choose that, click on that. And what we want to do is we're going to create a URL, and we're going to put the different values of the URL in here separated by a comma. So in the beginning, I want this to be my first part. That's going to be the beginning. So all I do is just click on that, and you can see it puts the B2 column in. Then I choose comma, and the next part is going to be the bottle number. So I choose that, and it does A2. And then we're going to put the close parentheses, and we're going to hit enter. And now what we've done is starting on this link right here. And again, make sure that you notice these are two separate fields. This is a URL that continues on. You can't see the rest of it. And then this is the one we just created. So these are our new URLs. This is what we're really interested in right here. And so what we want to do then is, I'll show you, if we grab this URL and we go to it, it should take us right to our form, but it also gives us the bottle ID already filled in. Okay, so that gives us our link. Now, if we go back, now maybe we want to create all of these for all of the bottles we have. So that's as simple as grabbing these two fields here. And the way you do that is you click the first one, and then you hold down Shift and click the second one. And now you can grab this little square and drag it all the way down to the end of your bottle numbers and let go. And now we have all of our bottle numbers created. Now, if you look at these at the end, you can see it's 1000, 1001, 1002. So ultimately all we did was took the link to our page, and then we changed it with the field that we want to have entered in. And so that's going to complete how we create these forms or these links for our bottle numbers. So in this case, now I'm going to grab this link at the top and hit delete, and then that'll get rid of that. So now when you look at these, notice that these are actually, whoops, click off of there. You can grab these field headings and actually move them over to get to different parts. So this is the first part of our link, and then this is our URL that we wanted to create. Now this is the part we're going to work with. And just to test this, you can go ahead and grab one of these. If you highlight over one of these links and click the arrow, and you can see this is bottle 1009. So when I click that, I should get, and I do, 1009 right there in the box. Now the next thing that we want to do is create the QR codes. So we need a QR code that links to each one of these new links that we've created. And so we're going to put those on the bottles, and when the members click that, it's going to bring them right to that specific link. Now, luckily, there is a add-on to Google Sheets here, and it allows us to create QR codes. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and do add-ons, and we're going to choose Get Add-ons. And then here in the menu bar, you can just type QR and hit enter. And this is the one we want here, QR code generator. So we'll click free, which means get. And we can choose to use our account. And then it's going to ask you to be able to edit those things. Go ahead and choose allow. Okay, so now we have that installed. So we're going to go again. We can close this box and we can choose add-ons. And now QR code generator is there. And we choose open. And we're going to get this dialog box over on the right-hand side of the screen. So what we want to do here is have a couple of different options for what we want to do. So we're going to choose, we can leave this as medium. We can save a document. We do want to do that. And we can draw a border around. I'm actually going to do save as PNG file as well. And I'm going to use also this box, use the second column and shorten URL. So we can actually Shorten URL for this demo, let's leave it alone because you have to link that to a Bitly account now because Google no longer does shorten URLs. And so that's okay. That's something you could do, but it's not necessary for this tutorial. So I'm going to let that go for now. Okay, so now we have all of these items checked. And before we hit generate, what we want to do is go here and we want to set what the label is going to be because we don't want to just have all these QR codes on a page and then have to scan them to figure out which link they're going to. So by putting two columns together, we can actually put labels under each of the QR codes. So what we're going to do here is grab all of our bottle numbers, just hold down your Shift key and select them all and choose copy. We're going to come over here to column D. You want to make sure you start in row 1 if that's where you pasted or copied from, and you're going to choose paste. And you can see now, so we still have that the URL underneath there. So don't let that confuse you when these are actually just single columns. And once you put other data after them, then they kind of go underneath the other columns. But if you don't have anything after them out here, then these links will expand all the way out. So just make sure you're putting them in the right place. So what we have now is the link to the individual documents or the individual what are going to become QR codes. And we have all of the numbers here, which are going to become our title underneath these. So what we want to do is grab that bottom right-hand one and come up here and choose Shift. And now we've selected these two columns and we're going to go ahead and generate. So right here, we'll choose generate. And it's going to take just a minute. You'll see at the bottom that it will say that it's creating, and you'll see the little bar going across processing. And I will come right back as soon as that's done. Okay, so that has completed. So now what we want to do is go back to our Google Drive, which is the first tab here that we started with. And you can see here now within the folder that I created, we have our fill station responses. We have our actual form. And then here, since I chose to save these as PNG files and as a document, it's done just that. It's created individual files. So if I click on that, I get the individual code that I can download. And I see that it's titled ABC 1013, so on. And I have all the other ones in there. Or if I want to go into the QR code document that was created, now I have a document that has all of my QR codes listed with the title underneath the code. So I quickly know which one that is. Now you'll see that you can use these QR codes and attach them to your SCBA bottles. And then when your members scan the code, it pre-fills the bottle number. And then they go ahead and complete the rest of the information about the fill. And then back here, when we go to responses, you know, we have the responses in like we said before. Now, I personally like to leave the raw data here just in case I ever need to change out a bottle, change a name, do something different. And again, if you're just doing one bottle, maybe one bottle gets taken out of service and gets a new number, then it's as simple as really just going to the end of this link and you can just copy the whole link and paste it. And then you can just change these last 5 digits here or last, you know, whatever your new number is. So it's pretty easy from an ongoing standpoint to manage everything once you have this created. And you can certainly use this same system for creating all kinds of different QR code based inventory systems as well. So a couple things I want to touch on here before we close the video. The QR code generator works wonderfully. It only allows you to do 20 QR codes per hour. So you either need to break these down and just do so many of them per hour, or you can go ahead and purchase through the developer's site, and you can click through here on the sidebar under settings. And this is going to allow you to come down and you can read where it talks about buying credits and more about pricing. It's very inexpensive to do that. And for several hundred codes, it's a few dollars. So that might be something you want to do, or you can choose to, as I said, do those individually 20 per hour, whatever it is. Also, we chose to, instead of just cutting these out of paper and putting them onto the bottles, we chose to purchase a QR printer or a label printer. And I'll put a link to the one that we chose in the description of the video. It works really well. Obviously, there's a lot of different options out there, but we basically just printed the codes on the stickers, stuck them on the bottle, and then covered them with the epoxy that's approved to put labels on the SCBA bottles by the manufacturer. And so that's what we chose to use there. And so that's going to conclude this video. As you can see, this is a very flexible system that can be used to track all kinds of things at your agency. If you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the comments, and also share if there's other ways that you're using this system to track inventory within your department. I'd love to hear how you're using it and be able to share that with other users. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.